Right then, so our first fishing session. I have come to a big estuary. No, there's not going to be any really big fish here. The fish probably are going to target this evening because the light's going down. It's going to be bass. Very wide known fish, known in northern parts of Europe. I'm going to use the plug setup I was talking about, which is a floating lure with a plastic beak, which is going to dive under the water. I'm going to troll that behind us, probably about 100 yards, something around that sort of thing, making sure it's far enough away from the board not to disturb the fish. Tonight's episode is just going to be about trying to get out, get a fish on the line, show you how to strike, wind the fish in so you don't lose the fish, and everything like that. Okay, so the good thing about the floating lure, you see, put it in the water, the lure floats. So if I can leave it and it will just float off of there and it will not catch on the seaweed or catch on the bottom, which will be a bit of a disaster. Now, easy thing, I just take my rod and I'm going to put it down my shorts. I'm not going to give you a close-up of that, but there we go, it's down my shorts, let the bail arm off, and I'm just going to let the line pay out from the reel. I'm going to go in this sort of direction because I feel like it's a bit more of a fishy area. It's a good while, I've got jellyfish down there, so the line's paying out, and again, because it's a floating lure, it's going to be sitting on the surface. It's not going to do anything until I start putting the line under load and the plug will start diving under the water with its beak. So right now, a really clever thing you can do, if you want to, you can put a bit of black pen on your line when you know it's about 100. I know roughly what it is by looking at how much line is spilling out from the spool, because I know it about there. Make sure your drag is set a little bit, so if you do get a big fish, just put your shorts off. And then we're just going to go for a cruise along here. Now straight away, because it's on my body, I can feel the lure. Can you see that rod tip doing that? It's flicking. That's from the lure, and I can feel the lure is working because it's right on my body. If the rod was in the rod holder right there, I would not be able to feel the lure working. The reason why that is important is because of this stuff right here, seaweed. If you get seaweed on your lure, it will stop working and it will be game over, and you will not catch a fish because they'll just won't even touch it. So I know I'm going to approach a seaweed patch because I've just paddled through it. I'm just going to see if the lure stops vibrating, because I can feel it on my waist. Now I've been trolling along a bit and I want to check the lure, make sure it's got no weed on it as well. This is the good thing about the rod and reel over the hand line. If you've got to pull your hand line in just to check the weeds, not on the rod, on your get me words out, on your hook, it is a real pain. This is much quicker and much better way of doing it. I can start to look behind me and I'll probably see this is actually working fine. I reckon this has got no seaweed on it at all because I can feel it vibrating. There you go, it's a good idea of what the plug does in the water. It wiggles back and forth. So what I'm going to do, make a beeline over there now, get a bit of line out. Cruising speed, probably about 4.5 kilometers an hour. I'd say. You don't want to go too quick. You want to make a really easy meal for the fish. Now you can hear the wake from the board, but the actual board isn't making a clattering noise. If you take a hard board out in this situation, that is a sort of rounded, all-round board, it will make a right clatter, and it does scare the fish away. It probably is the same amount as me talking to myself. It scares the fish away, so I will shut up a minute and just see if I can get a fish on. So I'm just keeping a steady rate, steady speed, feeling the lure on my waist, through the rod obviously. And that way I'm directly connected to the fish and directly connected to being able to strike quickly and efficiently. Speed boats. Right, see that? Fish on. That was me, I was just cursing the speedboats. See, really small rod, very easy to use. Pull the rod over your head. Now this is a very small fish, probably 7 inches long, I think, for the weight of it. There you go, see him in the water there? This is just going to show you what sort of size lure a fish will hit. Look at the size of that lure compared to that bass. Right, really important, bass are covered in spikes. Okay, I mean completely covered. So let's get this guy hooked. Okay, that is a tiny little school bass. You've got spikes here, got spikes in the gill plates, got spikes underneath where my hands are. I've slipped my hand down over to the fish and I'm clamping in between my thumb and index finger just behind his gill plates. That is a beautiful little condition, schooly bass, which we're going to put back, put him in the water, let him recover. He keeps his gills out like that because there's razor sharp plates, sort of razor blades either side of them, and just let him go and he's gone. So that is your first little fish on camera. I say he is a tiddler, there's no question about that, but a fish is a fish, and if you want to come fishing and catch a little fish your first time, it's quite exciting and quite a lot of fun. Oh, loads of seaweed here. See that? That's not what you... that's gonna... Seaweed is absolutely the enemy. That's why my fishing rod is on my waist, so I can feel the lure, feel it vibrating, and see if it stops vibrating, or feel if it stops vibrating, and then I know I've caught seaweed. Because if you've got seaweed on your line, you're not going to catch nothing but seaweed. Okay then, so some quick tips. When you want to strike, which is where you want to set the hook or catch the fish on the end of your line, which is when the fish bites your line. That little fish I had then, I knew was pretty small, so I didn't have to strike it that hard. But with bigger fish, sometimes you might have to strike the rod, pull into the fish to set the hook much better. Then also when you're winding in, you want to make sure you keep equal pressure on your wind, make sure the fish doesn't have any slack at all, just gentle winding, bringing the fish in. You don't want to rip the hook out of its mouth, but just pull it in slowly and gently so the fish doesn't come off the line at all. And then in SUP fishing in general, just use your common sense. You are an inflatable paddleboard, as I am now. I know there's hooks around, but I use my common sense. I've been fishing on inflatable paddleboards for the last 7 years or so, and I've never ever had an issue with anything to do with a spike of a fish or a hook. Use your common sense, get out there, have fun, look out for the early mornings or late evening sessions, and check out places like this, a big open estuary river mouth for your first little fish. Really sorry if you guys had to wait a long time for this video. I had super problems trying to get my GoPro to keep recording. I've done this session 3 times already, and so let's hope all this memory and actually this card actually works now. And also remember, if you want to track any of my paddles or fishing sessions, I'll be logging them on the GeoSUP app, so you can check them out there too. We'll see you next time with another fishing video on some different fishing techniques.